Sylla is essentially an auction game for 3 to 4 players, which takes about 60 to 90 minutes to play. The goal of the game is to win the most prestige points over the course of 5 rounds, which are divided into 7 phases. Players start the game with 4 character cards. Most cards serve 2 purposes, one for bidding on new buildings, and usually to work in one of the other 7 phases as well. The first phase is the bidding for first player phase, where the senators come into play. Also, the famine track is adjusted. In the next phase, players get a new character card. Phase 3 is when players bid for new buildings using their character cards based on the colored hexes on each. Buildings give players bonuses, like money or chits called Res Republica tokens. In Phase 4, players gain income, including that from merchants who weren't already used in the bidding for buildings. In Phase 5, Vestal Virgin and Legionnaire cards are used to influence events, which can have various negative effects on players. They can also gain Res Republica tokens, or prestige points. In Phase 6, players will bid on a great work, either gambling for a large reward or making a sure bet for a smaller sum. The senator cards are used in this phase as well. Finally, players must deal with the famine and crisis phase, where players can be penalized based on the famine track and the Res Republica ladder. The game is over after 5 rounds, and players get extra points for having characters with fish symbols, or by paying to free their slaves. They also get points for their Res Republica tokens, as multiplied by the positions on the Res Republica ladder.
Sylla. Or Sylla?
I have no idea how to pronounce that. I'd say Sylla. I think it works best with 4 people. I do like the way you choose different characters, and you can use them at different times throughout the game. Like, they have more than one use, but once it's used, you can't use them later on.
That round, yeah.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, you need 4 people because it's a 3 or 4 player game, but it's primarily auction is the mechanic.
Right.
That doesn't really work. That works better with the more players.
Yeah.
It's pretty complicated. It's more of a hardcore gamer's game, I guess. There's the first time you have someone play it, they don't really know what's going on, but after the first round,
yeah, you can pick it up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about the auction, like you said, it's an auction game, but the auctions they only go around the once. So it's not like the bid keeps going up and up and up. You've got to decide what you're willing to pay and then bid that, because you don't want to be outbid by the next guy, because you don't get another shot at it, right? Like, once your bid is in, that's it. So you want to make sure you're paying the most, as much as you're willing to, but you know, hopefully the person next to you won't buy it away from you.
one thing that showed how good it is the last time we played we had 4 players and all of us came within like 4 or 5 points.
Yeah, it was quite...
Not only that, but we all had totally different strategies.
Yeah, everybody was taking a different approach, and yeah, out of 50 points or so, we were all, within a few points of each other.
Because you were going with the senators.
Yeah.
The other guy was going
For
with
money, purely with money.
And she was kind of doing everything.
Every little thing, and you were going more with the tokens.
I was going mostly with the cubes to vote on the events.
Right, yeah.
And then getting tokens for
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Yeah, because you were quite far behind until the last scoring round when you got all those points right at the end because of all of the tokens, yeah. In fact, 2 of us tied, right?
You and him tied for first,
Jim
and
and
then
I tied,
me and her
Yeah.
came like 4 points behind you, and we were tied.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, and that's the mark, I think, of a good game. Everybody's doing something a little bit differently, but it's still very close. It's not like any one of them was necessarily that much better of a strategy. And there is some luck too in which cards come up when, on your turn too. Like, I mean, you're not always going to get the same cards. I mean,
You mean the character cards?
the character cards are going to be different, and the building cards too, right? They're going to be different to a certain. Some of them never show up, right?
Only a couple.
Yeah, but there's always going to be at least a couple that never show up, and the order that they show up in is always different.
that part's lucky, but there's so much to choose from.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. Like it's not. It doesn't feel like it's completely luck based because even if the card that you want don't come up, there's still enough options that you can try something different. You can try a different strategy, and you don't feel like you're stuck with if you're not getting the cards that you want. And on the turn order really affects the order in which the cards come up. And like if you're first, you get first choice, and that's really quite important. Like you were sitting next to me, and I was almost always the first player. So you were getting
had the senators.
Yeah, because I had the senators. So you were always getting the last choice of things, which it was harder for you.
But that was kind of what I was experimenting with to see how much that would affect me. And
Right.
it didn't have that big of an effect because there's so much to choose from.
Yeah.
And especially with everyone doing a different strategy, then different people are going for different things. Like I always got the soldier and the Vestal Virgin or whatever.
Right.
So then I was able to get more cubes and go on to the
Yeah.
events.
Yeah. And how long did it take us to play? It was about an hour, wasn't it?
About an hour and a half.
Was it that long? An hour and a half?
Yeah, it says 60 to 90.
Yeah, 60 to 90. I think, yeah.
A lot of that's setting up.
But you could easily get it down to an hour, I think. Like, we've only played it.
Well,
I've
we
only
played
played it twice.
We played with the expansion too. So
Right, which is nice. I really like the expansion.
one person had to learn it. The expansion basically just gives you a couple extra character cards and an extra event and an extra public work card. But I think it makes it better.
Well, yeah, it's funny. I don't think anybody even tried using the gladiators in the game. But,
That would have made a bit of a difference because
if somebody
it was
had.
so tight.
Yeah, yeah.
'Cause,
But the philosophers, which is in the expansion, that was definitely used by a lot of different people. There's what, 7 different phases. Each one takes very little time, but several
7
of them are
phases
options.
and 5
5
rounds.
rounds. And they all take, like, they're all done very quickly. It'd be hard to suffer from analysis paralysis in this too, because there's not a whole lot of. You can't really agonize over your choices. Like, you either do something or you don't. Or you draw a card or you don't.
It's pretty tight, yeah.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of elements from different games, but
Yeah, it feels very Euro-ish, if that's even a word. But I can't think of any game that. It reminds me a little bit of Cuba, strangely enough, because of the different character cards and stuff. But not really, because your characters are always all out in front of you, and you just have to use them. Yeah, it's different.
it's quite original, yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's not more popular.
Well, I bet you they're kicking themselves about putting that bum on the cover.
They probably never even thought. Like, who would?